Hey everybody, it's Jason Blaha here. Now that my 2 informative videos are done for the day, it's time to talk about current events in the online fitness community. And yes guys, I know I waited a little bit to do this one. I've had other topics to cover. But we now have Kinobody, and that's what we're going to call him from now on. We're going to change from Kinobody to Kinobody. Has done a 280 incline bench, 5 reps. So let me put on my +5 out of weaponsmithing, work on skill at my crafting a little bit, and let's talk about this. And guys are going, why do you got to pick on Kinobody? Because he came to my channel and said he was stronger than me. You guys have seen me incline bench more than 280, and you've seen me do it pause, not bouncing it off my chest. But what we need to talk about is, again, this is a person who is marketing himself as a fitness professional, selling books, selling information, who literally has no clue how to train safely. This goes to show you what happens when you are born into money and you have the money to market yourself and market an image, because he really has no idea what he's doing. And we'll get to that in a minute with all this jumping and everything and all this leapfrog and everything he plays and grab ass with all of his buddies, all this hopping around he does. We're going to talk about vertical training in a minute too, because this is a strength training channel and that is part of strength training. Vertical leap's actually an important measurement. Tells you a lot about an athlete. Also tells me how unathletic he really is genetically. He is not gifted. Now, that being said, the incline bench. Back to what I said before. What have I talked to you guys about? That he doesn't know how to perform basic exercises safely. He's trained for years, used a bit of gear and stuff to build a strength base, doesn't know what he's doing. He's going to get hurt doing what he's doing. And, you know, he makes his living on his appearance. Biggest thing he did right up front, what was wrong? He unracked the bar and let it drop immediately while it was still over his face. You do not do that. That's a good way to drop a barbell in your mouth. Breaks your jaw. Usually use all your teeth when that happens. You lose 6, 7, 12 teeth. Break your jaw, have to have it wired shut. Sometimes have to have some reconstructive surgery. That's the norm. That is what he is going to do eventually. When you unrack the bar on any sort of chest press, you bring it over the point where you're going to lower it to, so you can bring it down in a straight line, and you let the bar settle. In other words, a bare minimum 2 to 3 seconds after you unrack it, should you lower it, you need to get it into position, and then you lower it. He just drops it immediately, right out of the J-hooks. That is a very, very good way to permanently get hurt and need reconstructive surgery. All right, do not do that. Again, this is someone who never bothered to learn how to train before he just jumped in and started making videos. All right, this is, do not imitate what he does. Then he drops the bar and bounces it off of his chest, high up on the chest with his elbows popped out, causing extreme amounts of internal rotation of his rotator cuffs, his shoulder joint. All that internal rotation is going to eventually hurt him, and he just lets it drop, bounces it. All right. Incline bench is a fantastic exercise. It's a good accessory movement for powerlifters and strength athletes. It has its place in training. It's a solid exercise. You have to learn how to perform it correctly. It is not a show-off lift. It's not a lift where you're there to bounce weight off your chest. This is really a hypertrophy-based exercise. It's not an exercise I would look at for something for strength standard or showing off. You need to control the weight. You need to get that stretch at the bottom. You need to pay attention to the bar pad. The whole point of the incline bench, what makes it a useful exercise, is the amount of stretch that it puts on the pectorals. All right, that is what really makes it useful, in addition to giving you that little bit of extra shoulder, interior and medial delt activation. All right, it's a useful exercise for building this whole area up here. But it really is a hypertrophy exercise. It really is, and that means you need to use it as such. It means paying attention to your bar path matters. Getting that stretch at the bottom, which means you need to come to a dead stop, make sure your scapular pulled together so you can control it, and pressing it up. All right, it's important because that's what the exercise is there for. It's there is really a fantastic chest builder, and it is. It really is. But performing it haphazardly in a way that's going to damage rotator cuffs, drop the barbell on your face, that's not useful to anyone. And at a certain point, I feel like he's just trying to show off instead of performing the exercise correctly. Look, you're not strong enough to incline that. That's fine. Drop the weight a little bit, do it correctly so that you don't get hurt, and you will get strong enough to do that weight. You know, you will get strong enough. But he's all style, no substance. And that just strikes me with the way that he does everything. He's interested in showing off or marketing to sell people ebooks and products, but he really and truly doesn't know what he's doing. And that's the thing. It's kind of crazy that a lot of people have drinking the Kool-Aid, and they'll come over, and I've had people say, well, and other people came in and laughed defending me, people who know about strength training, old timers, are like, oh, how high can you leap? I bet you he can out jump you. He does all this jumping. And it's like, oh my God. All right, guys, we're going to discuss vertical leap a little bit. And this is stuff that people who've been in the game a long time, a lot of coaches, all you guys out there who work with athletes, you're listening, you're going to know exactly what I'm talking about. Can you train your vertical leap? And this is going to piss off some people who try to sell programs for this. Not really. You can maybe add, if you work really, really, really hard, you can add a couple of inches to your vertical leap from where you started at 16 years old. Like your inherent vertical leap. Vertical leap is a genetic trait. I'm going to get to why in a second. It's a genetic trait. And again, Ripto does amazing dialogues in this. Ripto talks about this in great detail. Go check it out over at Starting Strength. Why do football recruiters for universities test your vertical leap? Why do they want to know what your vertical is? Because they want to know what your genetic potential is for explosiveness. And your vertical leap isn't going to change tremendously when you train. It tells them what your genetic predisposition towards explosiveness is. It's a genetic trait. And you know what? That's not a good or a bad thing, guys. We all have different genes, right? There's a pretty wide diversity in various physical and mental attributes and everything else among the entire human race. But we have a wide diversity of physical, athletic attributes. Explosiveness is genetic. How explosive you are can't be trained much more than you can train where your bicep inserts. Okay, your muscle fiber distribution, all of that, it's related. It's that certain aspects of your neuromuscular efficiency determine your explosiveness. You can change it a little bit, but not tremendously. And I'm sorry, Louis Simmons is wrong on that. It's genetic. I've seen Kinobody jump. He is not particularly genetically gifted with explosiveness. He's not a genetic athlete. He just isn't. That's another reason he probably shouldn't go jump into MMA or anything like that. He's not genetically predisposed for any sort of sport that requires explosiveness, whether it's MMA, football, powerlifting, anything else. So again, you start looking at leaping, same thing. Narrow hips, not a lot of just inherent glute muscle, not particularly fast twitch fiber dominant. All right? Same stuff where he comes over and says, oh man, you have wide hips. Not from powerlifting, it's genetics. What do you think having wide hips and big glutes does to your vertical leap? What do you think that does to your vertical leap? How much are the glutes involved? How much are your hips involved in that? So if you have a wide foundation there and you're fast twitch fiber dominant, you probably are going to have a tremendously higher vertical leap. I just want people to stop and think of some common sense when people come over and say things like that. And they want to compare certain genetics. Yes, I am not genetically gifted in aesthetics. I think we can all agree with that. Can we all agree? I don't look like a pretty boy. I don't look like a fitness model and probably wouldn't, even if I were to diet down to 8% body fat. Is that a fair assessment? I don't have the right insert. I don't have amazing bicep insertions, great tricep insertions. I don't have that stuff. I've got wide shoulders. I don't have the narrow hips. I don't have the long bicep insertions. I don't have that stuff. Those are genetic traits. We're all given a different hand. We all have good stuff and bad stuff in there. What I am is explosive. How many people watch me squat? How many times do people say, man, you squat really, really fast? I've hit squat max, training maxes and stuff where people are like, wow, that looked like an opener. I've hit third attempts in meets where people go, wow, that looked like an opener. Like, no, that was my max. It doesn't take me 2 seconds to lock a max. You just lock it. Okay, that's still a max. It doesn't mean I could add 5 more pounds. I don't grind. I just lift it fast, really fast. People watch me bend the bars when I squat fast all the time. Bar flaps. It's normal. I'm genetically explosive. And I hate to have to tell someone like Kinobody or anyone who comes in and says that stuff, what are you going to do when you take someone like me who is genetically tremendously more explosive, tremendously stronger squatter. Of course, he can't out-jump me. You guys need to remember, yes, I weigh more. I'm also a hell of a lot stronger and I'm faster. And the faster has nothing to do with anything I have done. It's genetic. I've always been able to jump high. I've always been able to sprint fast. I was a strong squatter the first day I stepped in the gym. I hit a 225 squat the very first time I got under a barbell. My first day in a gym in my life. Okay? It just is what it is. We all have different genetic gifts. And all the leaping and hopping and practicing in the world will not increase your vertical leap like 5 or 6 inches. All you can do is pace your power through things like squatting and power cleans and some box jumps to keep pace with your body weight so that you can sustain your genetic potential. And that's the difference. Just because someone like me weighs more than him doesn't mean he can jump higher just because he practices jumping. I would never need to practice a jump to jump higher than him, because that's a genetic trait. And I just happen to be luckily blessed with that one trait. And that's how it works, guys. You got to deal with it. That's how sports and athleticism work. We all have different gifts. Every human being on earth. But you've got to learn to recognize those gifts in yourself and know where you stand with things. And it's just ridiculous, that people say things like, and it's also ridiculous that he really thinks that all that leaping and hopping is going to make him a better athlete. No, he needs to get his squat up. He needs to get his power clean up. All right, that's what he needs to do. Kinobody needs to go ahead and get his squat up to about 430, 450. Okay, he needs to be able to squat over double his body weight, paused without a belt. Needs to go ahead and get his power clean on up to 260, 270. All right, that's what he needs to do. If he wants to be a better athlete, that's going to make him have the power that he needs to be a better athlete. All this play and grab ass and leapfrog with his butt buddies is not going to do that. All right, this is, again, reality. And I mean, truth be told, that when you saw his countertop jump, guys, that's not particularly impressive. That's not a feat that requires a great deal of athleticism or power. Trust me on that. That's, again, you people who are seeing that and thinking, oh, wow, that's really good. You've never been around real athletes. If you really think that that's a big deal, you've grown up in a different environment. That's just the real world. And his training isn't particularly well suited for what he's trying to do. If he really and truly wanted to be MMA fighting and be the Batman and everything he wants to be, he'd be working on his power clean. And I don't mean just his hang clean. He's talking about he does hang clean. I don't care. Do your power cleans. Do full range of motion overhead press. Do push presses. Learn to clean and push press. Get your squat up past double your body weight. All right? That's how you become an all-around better athlete. But all of this fluff and pump he's doing, all these partial reps, bouncing bars off of his chest, playing leapfrog and grab ass, is not going to make him an athlete. It's not impressive. It's silly nonsense so that he can find kids like some of you out there to sell you stupid ass books like he knows what he's doing. He doesn't. He doesn't even understand the basics. He doesn't even know how to perform a bench press or an incline bench correctly. And that's pretty scary. All right, guys, but that's really all I have to say on that today. I hope it's been informative, and I will talk to you guys next time.